Hi there, it's Jonny here from Farlows and welcome to the second in our Fly of the Month series. If you haven't seen our January video where Nick introduced some really good trout patterns to try on the small still waters and the reservoirs at this time of year, go back, have a look at that. But for the February video I thought we'd have a look at a salmon pattern. We've just this month had the opening of the Dee and the Tweed, two of our major salmon rivers, and of course we had the opening of the Tay last month. So I thought we'd look at a salmon pattern which is great to try for the spring salmon season. It's a really popular spring colour combination of black and yellow, and I'm going to show you how I tie this pattern. There's of course so many ways you can get creative and create your own version, but today I'm going to show you how I tie the Dee Monkey. Start by laying down wraps of thread onto your tube. In this case I'm using uni thread in an 8/0 and I'm using a 1.25 inch copper slipstream tube from Vineyard. I'm using the HMH tube fly adapter too to make things easy. Come in and break or snip your thread off. Run your thread all the way down to the end of your tube, leaving a little bit of the copper tube exposed. Tie in a length of your pearl mylar, lock it in place. Once you've got that tied in, you can bring your thread up the body and tidy things up a little bit. Come back down to the end and tie in a length of silver, medium oval tinsel. Run your thread back up the body and again tidy things up. Bring your thread up towards the front of the tube and take your mylar tinsel. Wrap it round the body in close touching turns to form a nice shimmery translucent effect on the body of the tube. Once you've come almost all the way to the top of the tube, lock the mylar off with your thread, keeping everything tight, and now you can snip off the excess. After you've done that, it's time to bring the oval tinsel up to create a rib. I like to give a couple of turns at the bottom to create a tag end, before I then work my way up the body in open turns. Just like you did with the mylar, once you get to the top, lock off your oval tinsel and snip off the excess. The first type of hair we're going to add to this pattern is some yellow bucktail. We want this to extend to just beyond the end of our copper tube. Because we're going to be using softer fibres on top of this, the stiff bucktail hairs are just going to help hold everything up a bit and stop those softer fibres from collapsing once the fly's in the water. Once you're happy with it, snip the excess off and tidy up. For the next stage, I'm using some dyed yellow fin raccoon. This is just going to help start build that teardrop profile that we're looking for. Once you're happy with the length, tie it in, come in and trim off the excess, and tidy up. The next stage is to add a hackle. In this case, I'm using some dyed yellow strung saddle from Nature's Spirit. Gently draw the fibres back in your fingers before tying the hackle in from the tip. Tie it in nice and tight, pull back that excess, and snip off. Being sure to keep drawing all the hackle fibres back as you go, wind the hackle round the body several times. Once you're happy, come in with your thread, cross over, tightening everything up. Draw everything back to lock the hackle in place before snipping off the excess. Next I'm going to tie in a wing of black fin raccoon. Use your fingers to remove any soft underfur. This will help reduce bulk in the head once you tie everything in. Tie this in so it's just a little bit longer than the yellow fur we added earlier. Next we're going to add the final wing material of some black goat. Be sure to keep extending that teardrop profile with each piece of material you add. To add some flash to this fly, I'm going to add a length of pearl crystal flash. Tie the crystal flash into the head of the fly, pulling back the other end and locking everything in. Once you've done this, you can trim the other piece to length before repeating the process on the other side of the fly. I like to add a touch more flash to each side of the fly, and in this case I'm going to repeat the process but with a piece of pearl crinkle mirror flash, just one on each side. Lastly, for the wing, I'm going to add 2 pieces of natural peacock herl, one on either side. Tie your peacock herl in nice and securely before folding back the ends. When everything's nice and tight, trim them away. Last but not least, I'm going to add some jungle cock eyes. Draw the fibres back carefully in your hands, leaving some of the stem of each eye exposed. Tie them in nice and securely, and once you're happy with how they're looking, you can fold back the ends of the jungle cock. Fold back the ends of each feather, tie them in nice and securely to make sure the jungle cock eyes don't pull out later on. Before we trim those away, go in and give your fly a whip finish. 4 or 5 turns should do. Keeping your thread nice and tight, you should now be able to go in and just break off those jungle cock stems. Now all that remains is to trim your thread and give the head of the fly a thin coat of varnish. So there we go, there's the finished fly. We've just fitted a length of silicone tubing here and a nice double hook. And that there is my version of the Dee Monkey, ready to go swimming. So there you have it, my February fly of the month, the famous Dee Monkey. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is just my way of tying it. There are so many great tyers out there who can really get creative with this pattern, and that's one of the great things about fly tying, that you can take a well-known pattern and you can just do it your way. You can use your own materials, your own ideas, but the important thing is it has that great teardrop profile, a combination of materials that just look great in the water and give it a load of movement. I'll put at the end of this video if you want to have a go tying it for yourself, or the materials that you'll need, but otherwise tight lines this month, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.